Good morning, everybody. Ace of Trades again. It's Friday, March 13th. The Bible says in Acts chapter 20, verse 28, "Take heed therefore unto yourselves and to all the flock over the which the Holy Ghost hath made you overseers, to feed the church of God, which he hath purchased with his own blood." So Jesus Christ, who was God, paid for the sins of the world on the cross with his own blood, but it's only effectual for those who believe. On the chart today, I put the overnight low here, so that's obvious. I set the overnight high here because this is about 8:45, so this is pretty close. You're within 45 minutes of the open. So I set it here. We'll see what happens. If this ends up becoming some area resistance during the day, then we'll, move it up there. Then we got one leg up. We've got a second leg up. It goes a little bit past that measured move and starts to try to reverse. Looks like it's having some trouble here at the overnight high. It's not going too far, so we'll just watch it and see what happens. You would expect prices to try to reverse back down, but sometimes if they're not going to, you'll get a bullish imbalance or they'll hold this level and start going higher. So we'll just have to watch and see what happens here. All right, so right now we went chopped sideways a little bit here and then pushed out of this with this nice trend. Didn't get much of a decent correction here, just kind of all just fell down on one leg. Sometimes on these, they can be more drawn out than your typical like one leg, two legs down to the EMA and take off. Sometimes these are rather large corrections. What I'd be looking for if I was going to go long, I'd be looking for something, maybe this correct back down to the EMA, or maybe you get this trend, kind of holds a couple of times here with like a triple test off this level, and then maybe take that long. This still looks like a correction to me. These happen in different fashions. So let's see. So if we came down, we'd still be at the 61.8. That first correction came down to 50%. But you just have to be careful because again, this price action is far more spread out than you'd normally like to see, I don't know, like a trend like this that pops up, and then you get like a couple nice little legs back, and then that's clear to find. I mean, sometimes you think this is two legs, and really this is just ends up reversing. This leg just ends up, turning into a second leg, or not a second leg, but flat, reversal down. But to me, this kind of looks like this is a larger break that's made one attempt, and you might get a second attempt here. But we'll just wait and see. And so you just follow your rules, and if we get something that looks like it, you get a higher low or something down here, you're far away from the EMA, then I'd be okay with taking that. Okay, so now when you get something like this pushes up here and starts failing. Unlikely that I want to take anything off this level now because it appears that you may be getting trapped into a wider downtrend. We'll just have to wait and see, but I'm probably not going to take anything off this level now because you can see that this is not. This is probably the second attempt. First, this downtrend made a new low here, and then this uptrend tried to make a second attempt, but it got held back by this downtrend line. So now it looks like you're actually turning into a reversing downtrend here that might be wider, or this may actually, if this gets this trend line gets violated and we snap down really hard, this could just be a reversal stemming off of one failed attempt, two failed attempts to go higher. So you just have to watch this structure now. Okay, we can see here that this structure is now, we're not able to make it back up to the other side, which means we're getting weaker. The EMA is holding prices down. And now we've kind of poked out the other side here. So if this overshoot doesn't, prices don't reverse off this, if we start getting weaker and continuing to fall down, then you can kind of get rid of this and start looking for a different structure. Because after you get an overshoot, you're usually looking for a break. But this looks pretty weak because it couldn't pop up through the EMA here. So this may just roll over into like a steeper structure. So hopefully we can find something that we can draw some lines on and get our head around. All right, so like I was saying, prices did roll over into another trend, and so we found this trend here, and you start getting this correction, but unfortunately, you just when bars start printing like this, you just can't go chasing stuff. Like somebody, you know, if you FOMO into this stuff and you're looking for a setup, and then you see this, and then this pushes up, makes new high for that, and then you see this bar, and you start thinking, oh, maybe we're going lower now. It's going back down, and I missed it. Let me just get in right there. Well, that's why you have to keep following your rules and not chase prices. So if it doesn't set up, you just don't take it. And remember, there's always another trade. And who knows what this is doing right now? Maybe this is going to be ranging here or something. Sometimes prices do strange things that you're not expecting. So maybe there's like a little range here, and maybe it pops up. Maybe prices are really want to come back and test this overnight high level. Maybe they're really trying to make a measured move, and it just takes a strange path to get there, and then it pops up, and then it dumps down. But I mean, there's not really anything you can do when stuff like this happens. You just have to sit and be patient. I don't even know if this popped up here and gave us a bar. I don't even know if I'd take it because there's nothing really clean here at all to say, oh, this is because this looks like the leg, and then that pushes up, then you get a steeper, and this closes lower, and so maybe you consider this the entire leg, and then so you draw another line. You really want to get clean price action to trade off of. You don't want to try to read through congestion and messes and stuff like that. But so you'll hear people say there's no rules against trade in congestion if you know what you're doing. Well, honestly, you can't really know what you're doing when it's congested. You just don't know what prices are going to do. So don't fall for that whole thing when you see somebody mark some trade in congestion and say, well, if you know what you're doing, you can take that. Well, you really don't ever know what you're doing. And so you can't really tell what prices are going to do in congestion. Just stay out of it and just wait for the next structure to develop. All right, so we can see we got these we got these two legs here, but because this is so choppy, this can be difficult to read. So I'm not saying I wouldn't have taken that, but I'm not saying I would have either. I don't know when it looked like in real time. Mm, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's room to the EMA, but you just never know. When you get one of the that first leg so choppy like that, I don't know. I would just say it's probably aggressive because you've made a couple of small attempts here, and even that, oh, maybe this is a second attempt. So I'd say it's aggressive. I mean, you can see the prices shot up there and then they kind of went sideways. So, and then they pushed up one more time and rolled over. Um, I'll just say it's aggressive. I'm not saying, whether or not I would have taken it or not. I don't know. I wasn't here. I stepped once it started doing this and I got off that last portion of the video. I stepped away for a minute. Came back and looks like we're pushing down. Then that's always real dangerous to try to take. After you might be thinking, oh, this is pushing down. We're going to keep going down here. This is just a lower high for that move. But boy, when prices are so spread out like that, like I made a mistake on the other day, taking something like that with prices real spread out. Now mine was actually it closed as a low of the move, but you just never know. You can see how this tried to hold here and push up. Um, so we could be failing to push out, and we could get further momentum down, and or the prices may just be trying to create the new low for this move. And um, but I'll just say I most likely won't take something like that because it's your price action is very spread out at this time now. So you try to stick to nearer term stuff. Like your hope is that you get one of these clean legs, you get a couple red bars down, and then you get a second clean leg. When it gets real spread out like this, it starts to get difficult to read through. And when after it works, you can say, "Oh yeah, that worked." I can see that now, but um, I'll just leave it at that. We'll just wait for the next thing to develop. All right, real quick, I'm going to point out again why, these are aggressive. So you've got downtrend, two-legged break, two legs down to a new low, and you have this bar that forms at the end. Now, if this thing wins, there's some guys out there on their videos, they'll put a little arrow here, green arrow, and say, well, that's aggressive there, but chances are, after two legs down, you're going to at least snap back to the EMA. Well, you don't. You just keep going, and that's why those things are aggressive to take, because they're going to fail on you sometimes. And that's not a fun one to fail on because that's like a 7 point bar or so. So just wanted to point that out. So watching his prices continue lower. Now if we keep going down here and maybe we get another trend down, then you can maybe take a short off that. You see prices are EMA is still rejecting prices, then you can continue to look to go short. And also we might expect that prices are going to try to fade back down. This range has now recovered. Sometimes you'll get these breakouts and you think, oh, we held here, we're going higher now. But these ranges can recover, and so this one is pulling prices back down into the middle at least, and you could probably now at least target. I don't know if you count this whole thing as a leg down. Um, we're probably looking at probably down in here for a measured move at least, and if you get that far, then it's likely they're going to try to push down here to the lows. So we'll see. I will say here, be careful looking for a short now because this downtrend has a break and not only new low, but it's got an entire second leg down. So I'm personally not going to be looking for a short here. This is a very tiny correction and you may get some pattern here that sets up that ends up trapping you. It may work, but be careful taking. I'm probably not going to take that because it's you've got this break in a new low. Now it may work because depending on what target you go for, because the volatility is so huge today. On these bar ATR is probably 5 something right now, but you don't want to get trapped on a massive bar like that. So I'll probably just be sitting tight for now. You may end up getting some sort of now. This range may still end up holding or not holding, but pulling prices down here. But sometimes, you'll get some wacky price action in between there. Like this may, after you get a couple legs down, smaller picture, you may get some sort of like little relief here that also plays out before you continue down with your um, move towards the lows. So I'm not real keen on taking that guy right there. So anyway, because this is played out, I'm just holding to the rules that you have to be careful once a trend plays out, um, regardless of how big this looks. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. All right, so if we measure from up here down to there and then down to there, we just pushed past a measured move, and then we get this higher low, but I don't like a higher low here because the context is really bad for it now that we got this push to a new low. We tried to push up through the EMA and couldn't. So um, there's a chance where you could just get trapped in and price could just keep dumping down here. It's so bearish right now. So yeah, so I don't like that higher low there, and it's kind of sideways here in this congestion. Then you get this one attempt, two attempts, but that's again with you having a measured move down, and this is way played out now. you may get some relief against you, which looks like is what is happening right now, right here. If this is like a first move down off like some play out to the long side, then that's something you might try. It's a little bit more aggressive anyway, just because it's not back to the EMA and it's kind of just two tiny legs. But in this context, I'm just not liking to take anything right now because um, the the range seems to be dominating, but trend structures are kind of played out right now. So you just have to be careful with what you take. So what I'd really like to see here, it may not happen just because of how weak this is I'd like to see some kind of like little bullish relief where you get like a trend up or something, and then that plays out and turns back down, and then I can be comfortable with getting on with shorts. Because this is just really kind of choppy. Now you may not get anything. This may just kind of chug down here and keep going. So just have to wait and see what happens. Okay, everybody. So this is what I was looking for here. We got this relief rally, and I'm okay going taking along here if we get a couple of legs back now. Um, if you get a nice clean break of this uptrend, you can even maybe hang on to a runner because when you get these, uh, and these happen in different varieties, but the easiest ones are like the one yesterday on that trade that I missed yesterday. When you get a nice clean, unbroken string of bear bars or bull bars, and then you get a nice couple of clean legs of correction. That is what I call a true reversal, because those will often go for a second leg that you can catch a nice runner on. This here you'll hear people talk about this is like a micro reversal that you can't really where basically it's two micro attempts down failing, and then um people would go, so you see this little tick lower here, that would be like one attempt. And then when prices break below here, that would be the second attempt. And so, when this bar forms, you'll see people going long there thinking this is a like a reversal, which it ends up taking off. But often those guys they may only go for a couple points, especially with how bearish this is, and then, turn against you. So the true reversals are when you get things played out to one side, and then you get a nice clean trend in the other direction, and then you get a nice two-legged correction with a good bar that you can take for a trade, and then you can often expect that will make a second leg up that you can take a runner on. When people take this sort of stuff, I always talk about how I despise these trades because they'll fail a lot on you. But you won't usually get a runner because you're taking a trade here in a it's an basically a trend that's forming in the other direction. And so often these things will get stopped out very quickly as prices are moving back and forth here forming this trend. So yeah, that's not a real reversal. A real reversal is when this is actually a real reversal. It's just on a bigger picture. This is a little bit more difficult to find. Um, but you can see how you have this nice clean trend. These legs are kind of ugly. The second leg is pretty clean. And then you get another leg down. So those are a little bit more difficult to spot because the price action is so far spread out. But the ones that are the easiest are when you get a nice set of bars going in one direction like this, and then you get a nice couple of legs down, and then you'll get a nice clean uh, move. I shouldn't say it's clean, but then you'll get a second leg up from that. Those are the easiest to spot on a smaller picture. So this is breaking now, and this is only one leg though, so we'll hope maybe this will pull up and give us a second leg, and then we can try to get in with another move up. All right, unfortunately we got trash on this correction, so this may go up here and retest, but there's no signal for me to get in on to do that. or this could just be too weak that it doesn't, and then we start moving down. But I'd say this was pretty clean. I would expect that this would at least try to retest. And it may not go very far, um, but there's just we don't have any signal to get in on. Uh, I really don't think I'd take a higher low here either, just because of how bearish this is. The range is still the dominant pattern structure for the day, so this could fail at any time and head back down. So I think I'll just gotta sit. Hopefully this plays out, and then we get something else to try to trade. All right, so not sure what market wants to do. Like I said, we got garbage for a setup, and obviously that didn't want to go higher there. So we dumped down again, and now we're kind of in this range, pumped up to the EMA. I think it's just very difficult to tell what, um, overall what prices are trying to do here. You still have these lows down here that we could be pressing into. We're not real strong to the upside to try reverse off of playouts. So you might get a lot of choppy stuff that's hard to read. Um, but if you end up getting clean moves in one direction or another, I would just look for the setups um, to go with those. But right now, maybe you get some sort of strange range here that forms. Sometimes things can get real wacky in the morning and then they just settle down and they end up just going sideways the rest of the afternoon. But just have to wait and see how price action plays out. It's way too choppy right now and indecisive. So, all right, just a quick update here. So after this kind of failed down, we went sideways. You get two legs up here right around the EMA. Thing I don't care for about it is, if this had pushed down sharply and then we got two sharp legs, uh, that's okay. I don't like how this goes sideways in a range for a while and then starts pushing up. Um, so I would just say that's if you took that on those two legs, to me that seems aggressive. Um, I like it if you get nice clean movements. So that's also kind of hard to see there. And then so that pushes down and EMA is holding. Then we run up again, run down. Just seems like we're trying to chug down here into the lows. So um, you're just not getting clean action in one direction or another. I really don't see anything here I'd be enthused to take in the meantime. So just waiting for a clean price action. Okay, so it looks like we may have a range down here. We got one, two, three areas of resistance. One, two. Looks like we're trying to bounce here again. So we might be in a range here. So if you get two legs up, if you can get two legs up there to that high and get a nice bar, that'd be something to consider for a short. And then this has gone way too far for a higher low now because you'll be into the middle of the range and that EMA. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at right now. It just kind of looks just like prices are settled into a range. Let's do a little update here. So we were in this area. I was talking about I found this range here. So we came off these lows. We pushed back up here. Didn't quite make it to the high. You got these two legs down, and you may be tempted to buy that right there with two legs down coming off the lows. But you just have to be careful with that. I mean, you probably see this and say, "Oh, that does that again. I'm going to try that," and then you just get stopped out by a little bit. Um, so this is, there are two legs here. It's pretty steep, and so there's a trend you can draw against that. And I don't like it this far up, back up into the range already. Again, I'm usually looking for a lower high, and this is too late to look for a lower high anyway. You'd usually be looking for something to like punch out and then give you a lower high back into the range. Um, and so eventually you get like this tries to push down, pushes up strongly again one more time. It goes back up to the other side, and then you just get this chop back down with this punch out. And so, you might be tempted to take something in here because you see all these swings and you think, oh, it's going higher now. No, it's going lower now. Now it's going higher now. You know, you, um, when you run all the way back up here, you have to be careful looking at trend trend setups when you're in a range, especially when the range is this tight and prices have already come all the way back up to the high. So I wouldn't look at this as like a first, second attempt trying to take a retest here because you're already been to the high, so you're coming back off, and you could just get chopped to pieces in this stuff trying to take, thinking that, oh, that's a higher low, and then it pushes back down. You think, oh, this is a triple test, and then it pushes back down. And just you have to just stay out of the junk in the middle of the ranges. And then of course we push out here. You always have to be careful when you break out of a range because prices will tempt to usually fade. And if you get a nice strong push out and it comes back with two clean legs to like a resistance area, then you can maybe consider that. This is just trash though. This is just a few bars up and it's just congestion. So I think some people look at this as like a first attempt because they'll look at every single little tick. First attempt and then a second attempt and they'll go short right there. I just don't think you want to go short in all that congestion, and especially you're expecting prices to try to fade back up into not only this range but also the overnight low is here now. So if this had pushed out further and you had cleaner legs, maybe you consider something like that. But you just have to be able to see. Um, you're waiting on clean legs. You don't want to try to take uh, technical entries inside congestion and stuff. So there's nothing going on right now. Just need to wait and see. Is price going to be able to fade back up here and push up? So if this would push back up here real strong, then you're looking for a couple of legs maybe to get on with prices coming back up here to the other side. But also you're just waiting. Maybe this can't get up here. Maybe this will chug along here and just fail out and push down strongly. So, but either way, that's what you're looking for. Is you're looking for nice, clean moves. Where I would get chopped to pieces when I'd be looking at technical stuff in the middle of uh, congestion, or just looking at a bar setup and saying, wow, that's a nice bar there, and there's a first attempt, and here comes the second attempt, and just missing the overall context of what's going on. So I just don't see anything right now. Even if this would like push down and create like a big low or high, I wouldn't take that. I would just stay out of this stuff until something develops. Of course, here is maybe looking for in ranges. You're always looking for to take prices off the extremes, um, lower highs and things of that nature when you are, or higher lows off the bottom when you have room to the EMA, because you can see how it struggles to push through here. Um, but anyway, that's where we're at right now. All right, everybody, update here. I ended up getting a trade here. So we got this kind of real choppy. Hold on. There's a fire whistle going off. I'll explain it in a minute. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't talked in an hour and a half. As soon as I do, the fire whistle goes off. So we got this choppy trend up. I wasn't really interested in looking for any kind of break in a new high. This looks very weak. And then we got this second leg up, and maybe this was not really related to this one, but in any event, because this is much stronger. This looks like this is much more the reversal, uh, trying to fade the range than this. But you never know these legs coming off fashions. So we got this big strong move up, and then we got this choppy push up to this high here, and there's just nothing to do in here. This is just too much chop, and you never know where the high is going to be. And then we come down here and we get this leg down. At this point, I'm looking for two legs back. You don't get the second leg. It just chops around, and then you get this second leg down. So you just never know how, this retracement's going to play out. And then we get the second leg down, and here's why I always like the higher low, because this looks like if we run this up to the edge of the screen, that looks like maybe prices are ready to reverse there. Looks like maybe they're ready to reverse there, and that fails. Maybe they're ready to reverse there, and that's where I waited for that higher low. I drew this trend line. I had room to that. I had room to the EMA. I felt to about 4 points, so I took 2 points there. And you can see why we need room to the trend line, why we need room to the EMA, because then it hits that and starts going down. Um, you know, you don't know. This kind of looks like it's two legs to me, but and often these things will not form wider channels, but so I never will take a trade off those because they're often traps, but I always have to be aware of them just in case they are if I'm going back into them. So um, I wish that wouldn't have closed so high, but I still felt it was good with the room there. And then it looks like perhaps this is turning into a downtrend. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. So um, got about 25 minutes left or so. So it's very unlikely I'll get anything else, but we'll just wait and see. Okay, well, this definitely looks like a clean trend now with pushed off here. Now we've come back. Was looking for a short right here off the trend line, but we just get this ugly green bar that doesn't give us anything. So no trade there. Uh, that's it for now. All right, we're just about to hit 4 o'clock here. I don't see anything else that's actionable. We got these two legs up. Didn't push down very much. There's probably some sort of break here. It's it's an ugly break, and I think maybe this downtrend would try to retest. Who knows if it will, because we're into the close here, and it's probably price action. It's probably going to slow down. So you may not see that, but there's nothing here that would give you any indication that you could take something. This is just ugly, kind of choppy stuff up into here. So, I mean, we came down. We had this big movements this morning. Two legs up, chopped around, pushed up, and then we failed back down. We had this channel, and we got basically this one choppy leg correction. This was really difficult to read. And so when stuff's difficult to read, just don't do anything. You just let it go. I was away when this actually printed. Can't say I would have tried it or not. Um, but boy, if you did and held a runner, you could have captured a lot of points there. Um, and then once that happens, I'm really not looking for anything um, unless you get some other structure that sort of sets up. And it just kind of chopped around. Then, before lunchtime, we ended up in this range, which we stayed in pretty much most of the day. And it didn't really give me anything I thought was worth trying to trade. Broke out, pushed up, broke out, and we had these two legs down. I took that off already because this trend then formed. So I usually do that. I put it on there for the video, but I'll if other things develop and that stuff's no longer relevant, I won't let it clutter up the chart. So we got these two legs down, this higher low, room to the EMA, room to what would be a developing trend line there. So I took that for a couple points, and it looks like maybe your new low could be coming in here. So that's pretty much it for today. It was nice to get a little bit of that back, and we'll keep working on that. And I had to do some adjustments, I think, because of the ATR, or basically the bar size is a lot bigger than had been used to. So usually it's like a 3 4 point bar that you're entering on, and now it's anywhere from like 4.5 to 6. So um, I will also probably limit myself to certain types of trades that I feel are more high probability. Um, like these two-legged corrections. So I'll be back again Monday. Looks like the new low is coming for this break. So I guess I will see you then. Have a good weekend.